You already know what it is. You already know what it is. IlFam79 here with a very special guest. If you guys watched the show last week, you saw shout out to Smoke Dizza. Dizza gave us a 4 minute exclusive and let us announce the tag match.
Jordan Grace and Alexis Littlefoot versus Masha Slamovich and Jocelyn Navarro.
Oh,
Oh wow!
that occurred last week, featuring my guest at this time, Alexis Littlefoot. What's going on, Foot?
What's going on?
Ain't nothing. I see you got the what you call it on. You know what I'm saying? I see you got the merch. First of all, how are you?
I'm great. I'm amazing. Life is great.
Yeah, I know you had a lot of goings on last week.
Yeah.
Everything looked like it worked out. I guess first of all, how was like Chicago? How was the event? How was the atmosphere at the Hills Have Eyes?
I mean, Chicago went crazy. I don't think, other than New York itself, I don't think any other location would have popped out the way that they popped out on the first show. Just because, even though this was the first or the third Heels Have Eyes event, this was the very first one that actually featured wrestling on it.
Mhm.
The last two were just more of like concert, like chill vibe, music, and culture. But this time it was like literally a wrestling show with performances. So it was a little bit different. So to see that crowd, a sold out crowd, most of them are not your like casual wrestling fan at all. They're like super true hip hop heads. Like they just come for the merch and West Side Gun and all the performances and that stuff, and they get exposed to this crazy thing called wrestling. So,
So I am that rare person that kind of hinges on both cultures. How are the matches received over there? How were these, the hip hop heads? How did they receive like not your match specifically, but the matches that went on in general?
I went out in the crowd after my match, and people were coming up to me like, "Great job!" Like they were having the time of their life, just like any other like wrestling show. TNA played a big part of this show, and you had a good mix of like indie talent that's on the rise, but also two big TNA names that were also on the show. So you kind of got the best of both world, one foot in like the indies and another foot into the TV style wrestling. So it was really cool. Just a lot of people, I mean, still knew who certain people were just because, again, most of them have been wrestling. Like Moose has been in the game for a minute. Um, and again, the production was, thanks to TNA. So again, everything came together perfectly for this event.
Okay, well, so what was it like being out there in front of these folks, these somewhat new wrestling fans? You got legends around, you got that big production and a very, very big house. How was that?
It was awesome. Mainly, I've been to wrestling shows with Gun and Dizza before, but like to for this event, it was my first time wrestling in front of them. They were still ringside like they are at every other, WWE, TNA event that you see them at. But to have them ringside for this event and be wrestling, for them, was super special.
So from your perspective, um, Fourth Rope as a brand, what
Mhm.
what what is Fourth Rope and what does it really stand for you?
Fourth rope is, what we've been waiting for a long time for those that like rap music, for us that like, I came into the game making, streetwear type of merch that mix wrestling and streetwear. This is like that on steroids. We actually, I'm saying we, but they actually had to push the show back an hour because people got in there at 6 o'clock when doors open and the merch line was wrapped around the building, and nobody would get out of the merch line. And so the seats were empty. And we knew it was a sold out event because we seen it on Ticketmaster. Like every seat was gone. But they were not moving if they weren't gonna get their hoodies or their
Mm.
shirts. So, and that's super important just because even though, you go to these TV events and yeah, the merch lines be packed, but it ain't never been that packed where, you gotta push the show back an hour. And finally, even after that hour, they were like, okay, we're closing the merch table. Y'all have to go to y'all seats. Like, we can't. We'll open it back up during intermission, and even during intermission, wrapped again. Like, and they weren't selling out, so they had truckloads and truckloads of stuff. And it wasn't towards closer to the end that they started running out of sizes and stuff. So everybody got fed. Everybody had, merch on their back and left happy, I hope, with from the merch standpoint. But again, it's just a mix of culture, streetwear culture, rap culture, and wrestling. Um, a lot of different styles on this show. Of course, you have me, Jocelyn Navarro, Jordan Grace, Masha, but you also had like Kevin Blackwood, who's killing the game on the indies, and you had AJ Francis,
Home team.
Joe Hendry, Zilla Fatu, who's first ever 4-pro champ. Congrats to him. That match was
That belt
fucking
is slick too.
crazy. Oh, the belts are fire.
Yeah.
I can't. The women's belt, just wait till y'all see it.
Mm.
The women's belt is so fire. Again, it's just a mix of culture and bringing a new type of flavor to wrestling. And again, hopefully exposing a lot of people that wouldn't normally turn on WWE or TNA, but turn on, Smoke DZA, Currency, West Side Gun, Boldy James, like that type of music. Hopefully,
Mhm.
we're converting some fans.
Yeah, I saw
Hopefully.
that DJ Premier Pete Rock went in the house.
Yeah, that's for the old heads. Like it was
Hibachi
just
got that.
so much different. Again, like that's like super old school. You had MVP in the house because I know that's the type of stuff that he likes. He ain't into the sexy reds and all that. But it's a flavor. Like it's a different flavor. And again, I don't know a lot of people that you know rock still to this day rock with Pete Rock that also watch wrestling. Like either they watched it when they were younger, when they was kids and grew out of it,
Mhm.
but now it's bringing them back into the fold. It's a nostalgia thing too. Even with like the setup of the ring, and I don't know if anybody's seen pictures of like the steel cage. They had that like old school like boxed in steel cage, not like the fence steel cage. And I
It was
thought that
like the
was just
big
like
blue.
yeah, but it was all black. Like
That's hard.
it was crazy.
Talk about your match.
It was a process of that match coming together for sure.
Yeah, I saw it with like there was the last thing they announced. The flyer was fire.
Hmm.
Uh, it was good to see y'all. It was good to see the homie Jocelyn. It just,
Hmm.
what I mean, get some rep next to some folks that have somewhat, some notoriety. Did you sit under the learning tree, pardon the expression? Did you get any dope tips and good information from those folks?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I learned a lot mainly just watching Jordan and how she moves. I mean, obviously there's rumors and she's been working both sides with TNA and the WWE partnership. We've seen her
Mhm.
multiple times, on both shows for WWE and TNA. There's rumblings that, after her contract's up with TNA that she's gone to WWE and just to be near her on her way out, so to speak, if that is true, is awesome. And again, just watching how people move and talking to them in the locker room, she was awesome. Masha also super awesome. I've been in a locker room with her before, uh, so nothing was quite different there. And also too, just soaking in the advice of like do this here and how the little small details, how they really pull a match together and even just, in the beginning calling the match and getting tips there of where to put stuff where. So
So you mentioned it being the first time out in front of Gun and Dizza. Was that nerve wracking? And what was their response after the match?
actually it wasn't nerve wracking at all. I just know after it wasn't until after the match that I noticed Dave East was in the building, but apparently he hadn't made it there yet. And if y'all want to know something about me, Dave East is my celebrity crush. Like, I
Okay.
don't have a celebrity crush, but that he is it. Like, that's it. Him and maybe Michael B. Jordan, but other than that, I don't really get like starstruck when I meet celebrities, just because I've met and been in rooms with tons of celebrities before. But so once I noticed he was there, I was like freaking out. But apparently he wasn't there during our match, so I have to wait to the next one to try to impress him. But but no, it was just comfort. Like, I'm little sis to Dizza, and he talked to me after the match, and he's like, he did amazing. We talked the next day, just via DM, and I was like, I had a great time, just thanking them for the opportunity. And he was like, next one for sure got to be a singles match, which is crazy because this time was supposed to be a singles match. Like I said, it was a process of this show. I had originally got a call and was like, would you wrestle Jordan Grace? And I was like, absolutely. Like, I'm not going to turn that down. What? So originally there was rumblings of it being a singles match, and then there were just so many matches on the card. They were just trying to make sure more than 2 women got featured. So when they were talking about that, I was like, oh, well, can I give an opportunity to put my homegirl on, and gave them Jocelyn's name, and
That's
that's
all.
how she became, a part of it. And I'm so glad I had her there, just because, it's all about the culture. It's all about art, but I also wanted, as many Black people as possible on this show as well. So I had to throw a name that I work well with Jocelyn. We've had a match together this past year that was really good. So I wanted to put her in the mix of that.
That's dope. We were really excited.
Oh, wow.
What do you think is you mentioned uh a singles match for yourself? What's next for that women's division? I guess you would call it. And then what do you think is next for Rope?
I don't know. Hopefully, obviously they've already introduced the men's title. I do know for a fact that there is a women's title that's already made. I want to see a whole women's tournament. Like I said, I want as much women's wrestling on these shows as humanly possible. Um, this show was the first show, and you can't really pack everything in one show. You got to break it up. So yeah, I'm hoping multiple women's matches on the next show. Especially again, we just trying to feature, expose this culture to something different. Like I said, a lot of these people haven't watched wrestling in years. They don't know that women's wrestling has gone through a complete renaissance. So again, trying to expose them to that the best way we can. And just what's next for Fourth Rope? I mean, more shows. I mean, this was just the first one, and the first one sold out instantly. Obviously, there's going to be next shows. There's going to be more shows. We're towards the end of the year this year, so I'm not really sure. I've heard rumblings of another show to close out this year, but I'm not at liberty to talk about that. I have no idea if that's really happening or not, but if it is, I'll be there. The first Heels Have Eyes happened during Mania Week in Philly. Um, so I'm assuming that they'll run that back again Mania Week next
Yeah.
year, maybe again for SummerSlam. I have a feeling like a lot of things are going to coincide where we can get bodies already.
Yeah.
Your people are already in one central location to see wrestling already, just to be strategic. And again, the first 3 happened this year, so
Yeah, they started running off early. We got that first one, then it was bam, bam, bam. That's dope, man. It's cool to see hip hop culture and pro wrestling culture and Black pro wrestling culture all kind of
mhm.
converge into one thing. I am a fan of it. I can't wait to witness it live myself. That being said, we about to go ahead and start the show. Before we get up out of here, can you let the folks know where to get at you on socials and what you got coming up and where they can get whatever you got other than wrestling?
I am on all platforms now. I had a situation where my Twitter was no longer my Twitter for the past week, but I got that back.
That's what's up.
So I am Young Littlefoot. My name is right here. Young Littlefoot on all platforms. Give me a follow. Almost to 10K on Instagram, almost to 9 on Twitter. So I'm trying to build that following as best as I can. AlexisLittlefoot.com/shop for all merch. Please go get the merch and support. But yeah, and then this Sunday, November 10th, I'll be at Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, Wrestling Angelica Risk. So that will be a great show. If you're in the Atlanta area, definitely pull up. Tickets are on sale now.
That's what's up, man. Appreciate you coming out. All right. Peace.